Okay, let's talk about it. We're going to dive into one of the most anticipated and honestly, one of the most mysterious cameras in recent memory, the Fujifilm X-Pro4. This is a camera that for years now has felt more like a myth than a real product. It's a legend that's kind of stuck in limbo.
This quote it nails it. This is what the X Pro is all about. It's not about having the biggest sensor or the fastest burst rate. It's for photographers who care about the feeling of taking a picture, the whole process. It's a camera with a soul. Now, this is where the story starts to get weird. Look at this timeline. A 4-year gap, then a 3-year gap. Totally normal, totally predictable. And then silence for 7 years and counting. This is the central mystery, right? Why did Fujifilm's most unique camera line just suddenly stop? So, first things first, let's try to sift through all the noise online, all the rumors and speculation, and figure out what this camera might even be, assuming it ever actually shows up. And what you find immediately is just chaos. On one side, you have these plausible-sounding leaks from a retail site. It's basically parts from other Fuji cameras cobbled together. Makes sense. But then you have the other stuff. We're talking about a Dura titanium body, an AI that can detect human emotion. I mean, come on. It feels almost impossible to separate the plausible from the completely absurd. And all this confusion actually leads us to the real heart of the problem. See, the delay probably isn't just about parts. It's about a massive philosophical debate about what the X-Pro should even be in the first place. And the biggest battleground is the camera's signature feature, that hybrid viewfinder. You've basically got a civil war. The purists are saying, go back to basics, give us a purely optical experience. And then the modernists are on the other side saying, get real, the optical part is a gimmick, ditch it, and give us a best-in-class electronic viewfinder. And then, oh man, there's the screen. The hidden LCD on the Xpro4 was controversial, to say the least. One side says it was a disaster, that it broke all the time and they just want a normal, functional screen again. But the other side says, no, the idea was brilliant. It forced you to look through the viewfinder. Just, make one that doesn't fall apart this time. So you see the split, right? It all boils down to this: purity versus progress. Should the Xpro4 be a simple minimalist tool? Less tech, more intention? Or should it be a modern professional powerhouse? A true digital rangefinder with the huge sensor, the image stabilization, and all the latest autofocus magic. It's two completely different cameras. But what if this whole debate is just a distraction? What if all the arguing about features and philosophy is missing the real reason for the delay? A reason that's a lot simpler and frankly a lot more brutal. Let's explore what I call the hostage theory. The idea here is that the Xpro4 isn't just delayed, it's actively being held hostage by the wild success of its more popular little brother. To get this theory, you gotta understand a little business 101. It's called component allocation pressure. It sounds fancy, but it's simple. If you only have a limited supply of a really important part, do you put it in the niche product or the best seller that's making you a ton of money? You go with the best seller every single time. And that's the whole argument. The X100VI is the best seller. The X Pro line is the niche product. And that really important, hard to make part, it's the hybrid viewfinder. Both cameras need it, there aren't enough to go around, and Fujifilm has to choose. And right now, it seems like they're choosing the X100VI. Now, I know it's just a theory, but there's some pretty compelling evidence to back it up. 3 key pieces, really. And when you put them all together, the picture starts to look alarmingly clear. Okay, check this out. First, the X100 series has been impossible to buy for years. This isn't new. It points to a long-term manufacturing issue. Second, other high-end Fuji cameras, like the X-T5, are way easier to find. Why? Well, that brings us to the third piece of evidence, the bottleneck. The one critical part that the X-Pro and X100 share that the X-T5 doesn't have is that complex hybrid viewfinder. It's the smoking gun. So if we assume this hostage theory is true, what does that mean for the X-Pro? Where does it go from here? Well, our investigation points to 3 very different possible futures. And these scenarios range from kind of hopeful to, well, pretty depressing. We've got the allocated release, the EVF pivot, and the quiet sunset. So option 1, the allocated release.
The camera actually comes out, but it's super expensive, like over 2.5 grand, and they only make a tiny number of them. It's a collector's item you can't actually buy. Option 2, the EVF pivot. Fujifilm just caves. They get rid of the optical viewfinder to solve the bottleneck, but they release a camera that isn't really an Xpro anymore. It loses its identity. And then, the worst case scenario, the quiet sunset. They never officially cancel it. The Xpro4 just fades away, the last of its kind. And all of this leaves us with one final, pretty big thought. We're entering a world that's going to be saturated with flawless AI-generated images. So in a world like that, what's the value of a tool that's designed not for perfection, but for feeling? Is a camera with a soul, with intention, more important now than ever before? That's the real question at the heart of the Xpro4 saga.